Can anyone hear me now? Can anyone hear me now? I want to cry. I hate audio. I hate it. Can anyone hear me? Please tell me that it's working now. Hey, hey. Still here, fuck all. Yes, sorry, boys. I'm bloody working on it. I'm pulling my hair out. OBS, streaming, audio, nonsense, microphones, input, output, capture device, output device, recording device, monitor device, fucking audio plug into your bumhole device. It just never works. Can anyone hear me? For the love of sweet baby Moses. Yeah, here. Thank heavens. I don't know when that came in, but I was on a ripper of a rant. Hello, hey, hi, and welcome. I now have a working microphone. My apologies for my tardiness, gentlemen. As always, it wouldn't be a CSRC stream without me ranting about the technology and being late to the party because of some OBS-related issue. But we're here. Hi to the chat. Anyone here live with me now? Thank you for your participation. Hello to my viewers from the future watching this as a video in YouTube. Ari Carrion Anno, thank you for keeping up the chat while I was crying without my microphone. Saint, welcome back, my man. Nyron Dachad Bravmanting. Yeah, hectic names in the chat today. Hey boys, welcome. Let's send it straight away. Now that the audio is working, let me just faff about with my desktop for a second there, right? Okay, I can see chat. I can see me PowerPoint. I can see OBS, which is now ticking audio. Skits. Let's get into it, my man. My little men. My little team of men. So, never watched any of these fucking movies, but just here for the ride because you're fun. Oh, stop it, sweetie. Thank you, man. I encourage you to watch these movies. They're terrific. But thank you for the attendance and your compliments and your kind words anyway. Gentlemen, if you haven't figured it out, because this has been on the screen for the last 10 minutes while I've been swearing on mute, today's live stream is another mixed bag. And to the uninitiated, this means it's pretty much a bit of this and a bit of that and whatever I want it to be. Because otherwise I'm doing a tactically speaking, it's not a lie, a planning room live stream, whereas where I'm going into the behind the scenes on what's coming with the next video, which is no secret. That's going to be the Battle of Winterfell. And the other live stream I have is just me tinkering around doing a bit of gaming, which is my excuse to, well, game once a week. And that goes down every Wednesday. So these are the two streams I'm doing broadly, and every once in a while I'll throw in one of these mixed bag streams, which is what we're doing today. And why I thought I'd do this one is I finally got around to seeing Predator Badlands, the one in the middle here, which it's been discussed a few times. I think I'd even slagged it off in previous live streams prior to having seen it, admittedly. To be fair, I didn't slag it off. I think I slagged off just the idea that Predator has kind of run out of places to go as a franchise, and that you're going to struggle sort of getting some new creative, I suppose, vision with a beast who has really been unveiled in the first movie. But I'll get into that in more detail in the stream, so I'm not going to speak to that too much now. Long story short, I watched Predator Badlands and it got me thinking, how now do all these movies stack up? The old ones, the new ones, the AVPs, the aliens, the predators. So here we are in classic CSRC fashion doing another tier list. It's good for you and it's good for me. La 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 la. Yeah, so I thought I'd go back, chuck these all in rankage, and see kind of how they play out now that we're up to date, we've caught up. I've now seen all the Alien and Predator franchise films, and I figured it'd be a good chance to go back and rank them. Yes? That's what's happening. That's what we're doing. That's why we're here. As you know, boys, some of the dudes who have been in the chat before or watched the VODs, I lock into the slides. I do a bit of yapping. I'll move some stuff around to try and keep people's eyeballs engaged. And then I'll go read the chat and catch up. But I do now actually, believe it or not, you're not going to believe this, I finally have 2 monitors. It is a treat. It is spectacular being able to have like a PowerPoint open on one monitor, and then the other monitor has the chat up there. Incredible. I see why like so many, it's a thing. If you're doing this stream stuff, man, it's almost like mandatory equipment. Before I used to have my phone, I'd have just like the YouTube chat open under the monitor on the phone and it was miserable. But now with 2 monitors, I'm cheering, boys. So yeah, thanks to particularly the boys who sort of donoed in the chat to get this kit up and running. So I appreciate you all, appreciate the dudes who donoed, and yeah, that's pretty much where your cash is going. It's not going towards places of ill repute and illicit narcotics. If that bothered you, maybe it doesn't. But either way, just FYI. So let's get straight into it, boys. I'm going to go through in chronological order, starting from 1979, the original, the first, Ridley Scott's Alien. What I'll do is I will... I can't drag it. I am dumb. Okay, bear with me. Oh, boys, I've already cooked this. Okay, hang on. I've got to put it in this. Let's do this. Ha ha ha. Pretend you didn't see anything. Pretend you didn't see anything. Wee. There we go. Let's do that. I am dumb. I had it on PowerPoint view. Actually, I knew I was going to have to do this. I just forgot. So that's equally dumb. But here we are. Because I had it on PowerPoint to get through those first few slides, and now I need to be able to click and drag shit around. So here we are. As I was saying, Ridley Scott, Alien. And what I'll do is actually I'll undo or copy paste, make big the original. Horror in fashion genre, I suppose. Weirdly enough, didn't scare me that much when I watched this as a wee one compared to Predator. I found Predator a scarier film. But nonetheless, you have to acknowledge it as one of the great horror films of all time. Particularly, I think it's probably the first successful, commercially and critical sci-fi alien horror, as in something that occurred like in space and wasn't just, well, earthbound baddies, villains, monsters, demons, etc. Kind of made the concept of aliens, which I suppose might have almost been goofy or quaint up until this point, actually terrifying with the design of the xenomorph, of course. With that being said, it's broadly accepted as one of the greatest horror films of all time. It's broadly accepted as one of the greatest Alien franchise films of all time. However, it is not my personal favourite. I am much more partial to other films in the franchise. You can probably guess which ones. And I acknowledge its stance and its position as a legendary film in both the horror genre and the Alien series. And it's the original. Without this, there is none of the others. That's kind of a dumb thing to say. It goes without saying, but it needs its due credit for that. But with that being said, for me personally, and I'm not just doing like, which is the most cinematically sound film at a technical level, right? I'm doing which ones do I like as well. So that's how I'm approaching this tier list. Consider that. It's not just, this is the best film. This is also my personal takes, obviously. So there is bias involved. I'm putting Alien, 1979, the original, in A tier. I acknowledge its importance. It is just not simply my favourites, and the favourites, or the ones that I would regard as the best, are of course the ones that go in S tier. Gnash and seethe, if you wish, in the chat. What are people saying? Ari Karen, haha, yeah, yeah, I'll watch them someday. Yes, please do. Fun fact, in Czech, the Alien movies are called The Intruder. The Intruder. It makes it sound a bit, does that make it sound more scary or less scary? Man, I can see how it's more ominous. The Intruder. Maybe not, but it just sounds like some, I don't know, man, some creep sneaking through your bloody house in the middle of the night. A for Alien. Woo, says Papadorapadoro 4477. What kind of bloody name is that? This is one of those ones that could be like Greek or Indonesian. I don't know. But yeah, A for Alien, I'm going for it. And no one's tearing my tits off in the chat going nuts. So I'm assuming it's not that bloody controversial a take then. You know what they say, silence is compliance. So no one's complaining about it, means everyone's happy with it. Let's move on, boys. Decent. Nyron Dutch had bruv man ting. Yeah, man. Yeah, the Czech word for intruder is holy accents and Eastern European shit. I'm leaning in to read this. Vetrilic. Vetrilic. I'm guessing that's like how you say that C at the end, but the little thing over the R, you've got me bloody beat, mate. Decent is Nexus meme. Okay, let's get rid of Alien. Delete. Moving on. Next up, we have, of course, following up the work of Ridley Scott in 1979, came the great, the not late, because I don't think he's dead. He's not dead, is he? the great James Cameron with Aliens. Carried on the character of Lieutenant Ellen Ripley, played by, of course, Sigourney Weaver. And this is really where we took a shift in tone for the franchise and went from just being sci-fi horror to an action flick as well. And some would argue a magnificent action spectacle. There's the obvious comparisons to the Vietnam conflict in the highly technologically advanced colonial marines, and then the not so technologically advanced aliens, or xenomorphs in this case. And even down to the kit, the way they're equipped, their mannerisms. I don't think it's not a secret or some profound take. I think this is explicit from James Cameron's own mouth that there's, Vietnam linkages there. But it's just a terrific bloody action film. Sci-fi, action, horror, fuse those together, and you get one of the greatest sort of military dude bro films of all time. But that's, I think, a condescending statement or a not fair statement to the film, because it just is terrific. The effects are amazing. The military side of it is highly detailed. The sound design as well, the way the weapons fire, the shrieking of the aliens. It's of course the motion trackers. Beep, beep, beep. It's horrifying. It's menacing all in one. It's just such a bloody good film. And Aliens, I think, probably uncontroversially, goes in S tier. Now, I know there's a case to be made that I think if you went on IMDb, or Rotten Tomatoes, I believe Alien scores higher than Aliens, as in movie 1 scores higher than Ali 2. I can't speak, stop stuttering. Movie 1 scores higher than movie 2 on most critic scorecards. I'm pretty sure is what happens. But for me personally, gun to my head, you've got to sit down and watch one of these two movies again. I'm picking Aliens any day of the week. And I have. And I have seen this film dozens of times. Both including detailed re-watchings, as in I actually sit down and focus. And then also, it's just such a good background movie. I don't know if you guys have background movies. I think a lot of people do that. Put the bloody background movie on, while you're doing something else, or you don't really want to sort of fully focus on some story, just something you've already seen, but you just want the nice, glowing, cold comfort of the TV screen in the background and some other human voices when you're in your bloody dungeon or wherever you are. Terrific background film. Aliens, James Cameron, 1986, S tier. The GOAT of Aliens films. And O'Connor is leaving us not many places to go with the rest of this tier list. But like I said, I'm going through in chronological release order. What say you, chat? Sorry, I scrolled on the PowerPoint. Up. Now, the C is just pronounced TS. TS, what? This is Czech, by the way, from Ari. Unlucky Gunner. Hey, welcome, my man. I can't believe my Pookie Bear Schnookum Mookums Perrin is rating movies now. Let's go. Is he? Or is this a jest and am I Perrin now? Aware me on Perrin? Is Perrin doing movies too? Or is this, man, I'm not picking up on if that's sarcasm. I'm a bit dumb. To be fair, someone mentioned not why I started, but one of the reasons why I started doing the gaming streams as well, which I'd been holding off on just out of fear of you don't really do game stuff, you just do movie stuff and military stuff. But I like gaming and I miss gaming. But then someone was like, Perrin games as well. And I was like, well, fucking Perrin's gaming, then I want to game as well. So hearing someone telling me in the chat that Perrin has his main channel and then he does gaming stuff as well, that kind of gave me the emotional support green light I needed to go ahead and do the other thing I wanted to do, which was my little gaming side stream, which I still have on this main channel, but it's just, I'm not heavily advertising it or anything, or not making it the main focus of the channel. But yeah, Perrin was like the green light, or hearing that Perrin did it too was the push over the edge I needed. I keep scrolling on the PowerPoint instead of the chat. Toppest of S tier. Where was I up to? Oh, only 2 movies down so far. Yeah, correct. Just what you see is what you get. What you see is what you get, pal. Aliens is S tier easy. Says, yep, toppest of S tier. Valid. Director's cut only. That Sentry scene goes so hard. It does go incredible. Director's cut is good, says Saint. Aliens is too screamish for a background movie. Yeah, fair. But background movie, I mean that in the most literal sense. A movie you put on in the background of your other task while you are in the same room, not necessarily one that is apt for, sound design. Like, turn it right down. But I see your point. Aliens set the stage and the actors killed it. True, I didn't even tip my hat towards the terrific performances by all involved. Vasquez, best Latina. Yeah, of course. What's her name? Of course, she goes on to be in every other James Cameron thing ever. She's in Terminator 2. She's in Titanic. I can't remember her name. She doesn't have a Latina name, that actress. But yeah, the other thing about Aliens, while you're talking about the actors, where I think it also deserves its how do you say it? Like it goes not underappreciated because Ripley is the original sort of boss bitch, strong female character thing. But the thing about Aliens, it's like it does this without being on the nose. So compared to say movies of this era, when they want to sort of shove the overly powerful female hero in your face and just say she is amazing, you have to love and respect her because she's so powerful, she's so strong, blah blah blah. The Mary Sue type characters, right? Rey from Star Wars being an obvious example who springs to mind as one who was almost universally loathed, I think. Aliens did it without needing to push it in your face. It was just that it was obvious that the strongest character of all the adult cast was Lieutenant Ellen Ripley. The strongest civilian, or the best civilian, was the only survivor, which was Newt, a female. Ellen Ripley, a female. The strongest alien is the Queen, a female. So there's all this, the strength of the female race, species, whatever, gender, sex. But it's not like in your face, and it's just you don't like need to suffer through this what would you call it, like a social commentary message. It's just you watch it and you accept like she is a strong character. The stuff she goes through, her story arc, her survival story, and it is like empowering to her as a character just by the way they craft the story. You see what I mean? Does that kind of, I'm not sure if that gets my point across more. I'm saying that in comparison to how they would try and do this now in modern films, they just brute force the message into your face sort of thing. Whereas in Aliens, it's so elegantly done. And Ripley is a strong and rightfully so, like powerful female character. So it's an interesting sort of take on the social commentary side of these series as well. And Aliens is one of the first movies, I think, to sort of, maybe not the first to get it right. I can't say that with any qualifying evidence, but it's certainly one that springs to mind when you think of like strong female characters, right, that are done well. It's Aliens. Let's see the chat. Oh my God, stop scrolling on the PowerPoint. It's because I need to click off the PowerPoint and go back to chat. Director's Cut, I read it. Aliens is too, read it. Aliens at the start, read it. Vasquez, best Latina. Tactically speaking, how would you use a Predator in a Spec Ops role if you for some reason had to control over one of them in a platoon? That would be sick. Man, I suppose it depends. What's our mission? Where are we? What are we doing? Who are we trying to kill? What are we trying to do? Funnily enough, what you say though, I think is they were going for this angle in one of the other films on this list, which was The Predator, the Shane Black directed one. There was reshoots, but I think originally that's what they were going for. There's going to be like predators working with a human platoon or squad or whatever. Yeah, I agree with the screaming being a bit distracting in his background. The TS sounds like the C in Provence. Okay. It was sarcasm. All Aussies are a hive mind. Gotcha. Crinky. Parent does gaming once in a while, but if he gets the password to the gaming channel a bit. Jeanette Goldstein says, Saint, thank you. That's, of course, the actress who plays Vasquez. That's her name, Jeanette Goldstein. Now waiting for Economics Explained to do military stuff. Has she been mistaken for a guy? No, have you? You kick ass, Vasquez. You just too bad. I know I'm having a stroke. She's not Latina, Jeanette Goldstein. Yeah, tracking. I knew she wasn't like a Latina. I just couldn't remember her name. Up. Old films. Right, good, strong character that happens to be A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Yeah, true, real. She's Brazilian, Moroccan, so I mean, she kind of is. I didn't know that. New films, new character is A, B, C, X, Y first. Why you guys? Yeah, true. You're right. It's the way they frame the characters' traits versus their, not the traits. Yeah, it's the way they verse their traits, frame their traits versus their character, the character of the character itself as sort of their main. It's them. That's what their character is. Whereas, in Aliens, she is a survivor. That's one of the underlying messages. And she's always going through this horrible shit, and she has a bad run of it in every single movie. But Predator as a safety officer. Yeah, man, Predator as a, I'd make him a narc. He'd be like a range safety officer. I'd use his invisibility to go around and snitch on people. No, that sucks. How would you... That was the answer to the question. How would you use a Predator in Spec Ops if for some reason had control over one of them in a platoon? Yeah, the obvious answer is you'd use their invisibility in some fashion to conduct ISR. That's the first thing I can think of. As in, you can get the best information with the dude who can just walk around functionally, for all intents and purposes, unseen to the human eye. Coral, would you rather have a 14 with a Cotty or Predator vision only? Oh, as in my eyeballs, or like a device with a Predator vision, that is? Why just a 14 with a Cotty? That's like barbaric. I think if you're saying it's like my permanent vision forever, then I'd probably rather the 14 with a Cotty, as opposed to suddenly just walk around seeing in heat vision for the rest of my life. That would be hideous. Windwalker. We need aliens versus Predator movies. Xenomorphs, Predators, and Colonial Marines balanced. Preds can't see humans and Xenos at the same time. Pred Clerk is visual only. Not IR and the Marines have IR. Yeah, well, I guess they got it balanced in the game. The old AVP games did a terrific job of balancing the three factions to their strengths and weaknesses. So if you could just somehow wrap that into a movie bow, I think you could pull it off. Okay, next. No more chat. No more chat. No more chat. Chat. Delete aliens from the screen. Delete it right now. Hey. Okay, moving on from Aliens 1986, we followed up not long after with, of course, this should come as no surprise to anyone who's been around these parts for a hot minute. 1987. One of the greatest action films of all time. Directed by John McTiernan, who also did Die Hard. Predator. This ranking won't be a surprise to anyone because I've explicitly said as much before that Predator 1987 is my favorite film of all time. So it's going straight in S. Let's discuss it though. I really want to align that. Yeah, there we go. When the little PowerPoint thing doesn't get the alignment right. I've yapped about Predator before quite a bit, so I'm not going to spend too long on it, but I love it. It's a terrific film. It's one of, in my youth, like when you first gain sentience, weirdly, it's one of the first films I ever remember seeing, and why I remember that is because it scared the piss out of my balls. I distinctly remember it was one of these things, everything's on like a VHS that someone's recorded off the television at the time. I'm old, boys. I'm old. And yeah, I was over at whatever little mate's house at the time. And, it's Predator. It's like a monster thing, but there's like dudes with guns. And that sounds pretty cool. And then you start watching it, and I was like, oh, these dudes are like got big guns and they're like ginormous and they look like they go to the gym. This is going to be pretty sick. And then the jump scare scene of Billy like peeling back the jungle canopy with his knife, and then there's the skinned body of not Hawkins. What's his name? The Green Beret. Green Berets at the Fort Bragg. What the hell were they doing here? Those dudes. My God, the name is escaping me. Jim Harper. I knew this man. I jumped out of my seat, bruv. Anyway, so I remember watching it and being terrified, but then also just thinking it was the sickest movie. And then having gone back and reviewed it in hindsight as an adult, and particularly when I did the tactical analysis video on Predator, which for that I had to go through like the camp raid scene frame by frame by frame by frame by frame because I was trying to find workable assets and screenshots to put into my YouTube video. And so I pretty much rewatched the movie, the first half anyway, dozens of times in the course of making that YouTube video. And I just came to appreciate it more, particularly for some of the stuff you maybe don't think about as much, which is just the acting as well. Like the performances are really good. Even Arnold, who I think it's fair to say, he's not regarded as a super technical actor, but the performance he gives in Predator is impeccable. He knows when to sort of be serious. He knows when to sort of show that more, not relaxed, but kind of, oh shit, emotion. He's very expressive. You can see like he's revealing with his face like what's going on. He does a good job, man. And it's something that I don't think gets mentioned, that Arnie can act, man. Like And in Predator, I think it was one of his better performances, certainly one of my favorites. Aside from that, you've obviously got just the ensemble cast of just beefcake, terror chad, 80s action heroes. And it's just such a good film. And the thing I've said about Predator, and it's a criticism that's going to carry on to some of these other ones, the thing about Predator is you can only do it once. And this is not a new take from me, nor is it some never before seen or said take. You can only make Predator the way it was originally done once, right? You can try and make it again, which they sort of did with Prey, but it's the original is the best because it's the fusion of those two genres. It starts off as action 80s super soldier killer men who can just waste everything in their path with ease, and then it turns into a slasher film. So it blends those two genres perfectly, and it sort of subverts your expectations in that way. And it's just so good. When it's one of those movies you wish you could go back and watch for the first time, but you can't. And that's why it's so hard, I think, to make good sequels to Predator in this franchise, which is sort of, I'll bring up that point a bit in the future in some of these other movies rather, down the bottom as we go along. Get what I mean? What are we saying in the chat? We need aliens. Oh, I read it. Oh, I'm scrolling down. Bloody hell, revealing stuff I'm not meant to be revealing in the final slide. Mark II eyeball. GG. No more smoking without Mr. Second Lieutenant Pred catching you. Yeah, dog. Starfleet Ensign. Hello there. Watched Aliens 2 with my ex, so it's of course the worst now because she liked it and I liked watching it with her. Oh, rip. Get to the chopper, yeah. Hello, sorry, a bit late today. Welcome back, Kuba, my man. How are you? If we're doing Predator, Small Soldiers 1998 probably deserves an honorable mention. Basically, Toy Story but Predator. Small Soldiers is a really good film, man. That's sort of one that I'm not sure went under the radar. I think it was pretty well, what's the word, published. Like it made it to the cinemas in Australia, but yeah, you just don't hear about Small Soldiers much anymore. And I'm amazed there hasn't been like a sequel or a soft reboot or something like this of Small Soldiers, because that was sick. What's his name? My name is Archer, emissary of the Gorgonites. And then the bad dudes, like the bad dude looks like Colonel Dutch Schaefer, and then there's like Butch Meathook, and they've got all these hectic names like this. Anyway, moving on. Let's delete Schwarzenegger and Predator off the screen. And let's move on to, am I on the right tab here? Yes. Next up we have Predator DOS 2, Tvor, Ithnain, Dua. Predator 2, I believe, I dragged it off, so now I can't remember. Oh no, it's still there. My little timeline here is a bit wrong. It's because I dragged it to the timeline and then I just evenly distributed all the graphics. So it's not quite lining up with the correct years. But Predator 2 is not, this would make it look like it's like 1985. Predator 2 is 1992 or 1990, I want to say. Of course, Danny Glover, Gary Busey. Who else? Danny Glover, Gary Busey. Who is Golf Ball Man? Bill Paxton, which every Alien and Predator fan bloody knows. It's a bit of common trivia. Bill Paxton, Lance Henriksen, the only two actors to have been killed by all three, an Alien, a Predator, and a Terminator. So Bill Paxton, of course, in that when he does that disgusting joke about how his underwear have poo, wee, and jizz in them or whatever it is. Good film. Man, I like the setting of Predator 2. They sort of just, not reboot Predator 1, but they do a good enough job, I think, of giving the city of Los Angeles its own character. And the character of the city, I think, is very important for the setting of the Predator films. The jungle, the first one, obviously. Predator 2, the concrete jungle of the City of Angels. And they sort of up the gore, I think, in a lot of ways too. They introduce some of the new technology and the new weapons, which give them excuse to make it even more violent compared to the first movie. The net launcher, for example, there's just that really gross scene where he's ripping old mate's spine out in the subway tunnels near the end. I think that's Bill Paxton's character. And the gangsters, of course, I think it's what are they? Like Colombians versus are they Haitians or Jamaicans? I'm not sure. The voodoo practitioners, so forgive me if I got them mixed up, whichever one of the voodoo practitioners. And it's just gross. It's really violent, but that's sort of part of its charm, I guess. They took the violence you see in the first film and they went, let's just crank this up a few notches, and you get Predator 2. You get the same menace and the same unseen threat from the Predator and his invisibility and all this, but now we're sort of roaming around the city, targeting these key, what he perceives as great prey, right? Like the gangsters and the cops of Los Angeles. It's, of course, not as good as Predator, the first one. It can never be. But I still think it's a great film. And I would go so far as to say Predator 2, for me, and if you checked out the reviews and scores on your favorite movie review site, it's probably not going to agree with me. But I think Predator 2 is an A tier film. It probably sits around B or C on, say, Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb. But Predator 2 for me, man, it's A. It's a pleasurable rewatch. I will go back and give this a flick as well. I like the characters. I like the setting. I like the intro is terrific. The gang warfare scene. It's also, is it the first film that shows a Steyr Org? No, it's not. I think Commando comes before Predator 2, which has the Steyr Org in it as well. But Predator 2 is up there. It's one of the earliest cinematic films to show the Steyr Org rifle, the bullpup, iconic of course, on the silver screen. But for me, Predator 2 is A tier. What's chat saying? Not bad. I'd watch it B tier. Keep scrolling down. They were trying to reboot Small Soldiers. There was a trailer and everything, but that was dropped 4 years ago and nothing came of it. I never heard that. I did not know that. It says Corky 9930. Predator 2, a little bit underrated in my opinion. Not perfect, but really, really good. I agree. I think that's a fair assessment of it. I like the part where the little kid almost got smoked for holding a super soaker. Yeah. Want some candy? Want some candy? Wow, I just realised the time gap between the movies used to be so long between movies back then. Yeah, man. Well, they didn't just churn out slop, I guess, the way they do now. They had to take their time. They got those practical effects. Let's get back to it. Deleting Predator. Moving on to Alien 3. Alien 3 came after Predator 2. So the first sort of 10 years of the Aliens and Predator franchise, stuff was sort of spaced out pretty well. Alien 3 came out in 1992. I think I said Predator 2 came out in 1992. But now that I say that, I think I'm mistaken. Predator 2, 1990. Alien 3, 1992. Directed by David Fincher, who of course did Fight Club. Yeah? Yeah. Nah? Yeah, Fincher did Fight Club. Everyone knows Fight Club, right? Most dudes like Fight Club. I like Fight Club. I think it's a very iconic film. Alien 3, I think Fincher has since come out and said that like he regrets doing it and it's one of his biggest failures and he hates it and all this sort of stuff. But particularly if you watch the director's cut, it's a good film. I really like Alien 3. I like the way it departs from what they did in Aliens 2 with the heavy real steel guns, discipline of the soldiers, advanced weapons kit, technology, dropships, blah, 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 blah. And Alien 3 dials it right back to similar to the basics of the first one, but with the added, it's not a twist, but the added characteristics of the kooky and crazy British convicts. All the geezers locked up, stabbing each other in there, get a bit of argy-bargy, which I really think adds to the charm of the film. I love watching Alien 3 because of those British actors and all those. There was no reason to do that. Like there were British characters. Oh God, what's his name? The android, of course, from his name eludes me. Ash in Alien, the first movie. What's his name? The actor who goes on to play, of course, old Bilbo Baggins in Lord of the Rings. I can't remember his name, but you know the guy I'm talking about. So you're not to say there hadn't been British people in the Alien universe before, but Alien 3, they go hard in the paint. There's majority, I think, British cast. And most of the main characters, aside from Lieutenant Ripley, are these British actors. There's, of course, Tywin Lannister, Charles Dance. Charles Dance does a great job as, you could say, the love interest of Ripley in a roundabout way. Not so much, it's not the most like romantic of films, obviously, but they have a bit of get into it, shall we say. But he does a great job. So he's like the disgraced surgeon, and he pretty much admits to her at one point in his moment of weakness that he had, I think, an oop. He was a narcotics addict, and so he fucked up. He got a bunch of people killed while he was a surgeon, and so he's got sent here to this place to sort of do his time, but he elected to stay. And then there's, I think, a few other iconic geezers as well. Peter Postlethwaite, I think, is also in the mix there. He's Roland from Jurassic Park The Lost World, the hunter, the bald, aggressive British hunter man. Great actor, great character as well. He's also in The Usual Suspects. But these guys, man, they make the film. The characters make Alien 3 really compelling, and I love rewatching it just for the dynamic between all the convicts, how they're portrayed, and some of the scenes that creates with Ripley. Even though it's arguably, it's not absurd, it's just such a departure from where they were going before. But man, that scene when she sits down at like the table and she's speaking to I can't remember the actor's name. He's the big solid, the black dude with glasses. He's American. He's not British. Most of the other ones are British. But he's like the ringleader of the pack, even though he openly says that, no way, I'm not the leadership type. But, he's got that like, do you have any faith, sister? It's like, not much. Well, we got a lot of faith around here. Maybe even enough for you. And it's a cool thing because they're all like religious zealots, like born again Christians or whatever, found their faith, serving their jail time on this far off planet. But I love that. I love all these the things that have got nothing to do with Alien, the xenomorph, the horror. That's the cool part of this film. And I think Alien, for me, Alien 3, this is probably going to be controversial, maybe. Certainly not aligned with most reviews, but Alien 3 for me is fucking A tier. I love Alien 3. I think it's a great film. Director's cut. This goes without saying. Watch Director's cut. With all the extra scenes with, who's the super crazy British convict guy? Golic, the dude who ends up releasing the alien after they capture it at one point. They capture the xenomorph. And then he goes and releases it because he's, a paranoid schizophrenic who thinks it's a dragon that's going to heal him or take him away or whatever. Did I say alcoholic schizophrenic? Paranoid schizophrenic. I love Alien 3. It's A tier for me. What say you, chat? B tier, Beautiful Butterfly. I don't think that's Beautiful Butterfly. I think if you're quoting, I think that's Resurrection. Also first to show xenomorph teamwork and creative thinking, especially the cell floor melty scene. Wait, I missed something here. You're talking about Resurrection. I'm talking about Alien 3. I think we're not there yet. Hold your thoughts. Hold your bloody horses. Corky 9930 says, I can understand why people don't like the third Alien. It's kind of a bummer compared to the last two. Yeah, I agree. Like, I get why people don't like it at all, but it's almost like a guilty pleasure. Like, I appreciate the things that it did. It took a risk. It took a risk in that it just didn't replay the formula the way what the hell am I talking about? The way Predator 2 did towards Predator 1. It could have just replayed Aliens, made another action film with military dudes. Or it could have just stuck Ripley on another ship and it had her running away from a xenomorph. But it took some creative risk. So I sort of respect that for, who is it? Fincher, the director. Alien and Aliens 2, good. Alien 3, original idea was excellent, but final result not so much. Also, Aliens set the bar rather high. True. Stop scrolling. Newborn is also an interesting direction to take xenomorphs. You're talking about Resurrection. We're not there yet, blood. Low A or high B, objectively speaking. Yeah, I could see if I did do a split thing, that would probably be fair, but I'm going all in. No fence sitting. So for me, I'm chucking it in A. Okay. Let's delete Alien. Gone. Now here's what you're talking about. Who's this in the chat? Keeps going on about. You're quoting the wrong movie, gangster. This, now we can go back and read all your comments. Who was this? Pado. Yeah, Beautiful Butterfly. Also the first to show xenomorph teamwork, creative thinking, especially self-film multi scene. Alien Resurrection is a guilty pleasure. I don't mind rewatching it, but I will say it's not my favorite rewatch. With that being said, if you asked me outside of this tier list where I'm ranking these individually, right? If we were to just take the Alien franchise, these first 4, that is, and you said which ones of these and in which order would you rather rewatch them, as in just put one on, sit down, and actually go through it. For me, it would be Aliens, the second one, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, and then Alien. I would I would rather rewatch Alien Resurrection than Alien. And I say that fully acknowledging that Alien is a technically better film in every metric. I just maybe it's one of those things. Alien's a horror film, right? Once you've seen it and it's scared you and you've seen the jump scares and the mystery is gone, you don't, I don't know about you guys, you don't generally go back and enjoy a horror film as much the second time round. Whereas some of these other ones that are maybe more character driven, or in case of the second one, action driven, they have far better replay value. So that's just a tangent, I suppose. But I would rather rewatch Alien Resurrection over Alien, despite acknowledging that Alien is a far better film. With that being said, Alien Resurrection, late 90s, 1997, I want to guess. Not a terrific film. They took some sort of strange, I think, directions with, well, the species, the xenomorphs. Like the newborn was interesting. I didn't particularly enjoy it that much. I didn't think it did great things for the franchise in terms of how the xenomorphs went. I liked the idea of like the evil corporate military trying to revive the aliens. The insane thing is, I can't remember the timeline, but it's like, it's going to be hundreds and hundreds of years after the events of Alien 3. And I think when you do that, when you set such a big gap, that it does some weird things in your sci-fi franchise for continuity of kit, for one, and also say spaceships and everything. Like everything, Alien Resurrections looks worse in some ways than the equipment and spaceships and interfaces and screens and all the stuff than in the previous film. But it's like, it's meant to be 200 years ahead and more advanced, and like your combined, unified intergalactic military. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Anyway, Alien Resurrection, guilty pleasure. I would rewatch it over Alien, but with that being said, I can't give it above B. And I think, again, critically, you check your websites, it's probably sitting more down here in C or D. But for me, Alien Resurrections is going in B tier. What say you, Shat? Uborn is also a Reddit. Oops, smack in the middle of B, the basic benchmark for being an okay alien movie, says Paddle. This has creepy horror, not so much screamish jump scares. Yeah, fair. When it comes to Resurrection, I don't mind it. I don't really like it either. A fair take. This one is a sensitive subject for me, says Marty McFeels. Hello, welcome, Marty. It's good for trying to set up some comic expanded backstory lore building. Yeah, true. I guess by this point, there was a lot more third-party media in the Alien franchise, so, you know, they probably were starting to think by this stage, like, okay, no, we got the comics, we got the games. There's something to be had here for this franchise. There's a bit of money to be made. So let's sort of start steering it in a direction where we can get a bit more longevity out of it, because, you know, Ripley's dead at the end of Alien 3. Oh, we just bring her back to life with the cloning experiment, and now we can use her again. Hey. So you got to do what you got to do, I guess, when you have a dead character, but you want to revitalize the franchise. Hi everyone, says Wilhelm Sauers. Hello Wilhelm, how are you? Welcome to the party, pal. Let's delete Alien Resurrection. Bop. And move on to AVP. Good lord. AVP brings us the first and highly anticipated of the Aliens vs. Predator franchise. The first movie to bring them all together. Not all together. The two separate species or races of aliens together. And it doesn't do a very good job of it. I'm not sure anyone will bloody disagree with that. But AVP kind of sucks. Its biggest criticism, one I happen to agree with, is the way they made the Predators look. I get there's a name for Predators. You meant to call them Yautja. I'm not calling them that. Sorry. The Predators look like pro wrestlers. That's a common grievance and one I happen to agree with. And it's just, man, it's just not a good film. It's the characters suck. The practical effects aren't great. The predators don't look good. The aliens don't look good. If you're going to make an aliens versus predator movie, that's your first thing you have to get right. You have to make them look either powerful and what's the word to describe like a predator? Like it's got a martial, like it's good at fighting, or it's good at hunting. It's good at being an intergalactic trophy hunter, which is what it is. And the first film and the second film, they do that very well. Primarily, I would suggest, now that I think about it, down to the casting of Kevin Peter Hall, who's the dude in the Predator costume in Predator 1 and 2, who's giant, like literally, he's like 7 foot something. So they cast this ginormous, tall, sort of lanky dude, which gives it that look. They didn't use the same sort of vibe for the Predators in AVP, which gives them their ghastly, just thick boy. They look like the like swole, roid kind of junkies, roid heads, like juice head predators. Too wide, too thick, not fast, not sleek, not athletic. Like the Predator in Predator 1 and 2, you know, they're going for like a jaguar, like a cheetah kind of build. And in AVP, the Predators look like hippopotamuses. Like, you know, they're too thick. They don't look like what they're trying to be, I think. The only thing I like about AVP is I quite like the setting. I quite like what they try and do with the Antarctica angle. And I think really early on in the film, one of the creepiest parts is before they end up in the underground temple, and then it kind of turns into generic running around in the dark in the tunnels, avoiding aliens and predators thing. The surface scenes when they're in that really creepy old like Norwegian whaling station in, I think it's Antarctica or wherever they are, somewhere with lots of ice and snow when it's frozen. And the predators have shot like their laser boring drilling hole thing, and that there's a few of the humans being like hunted around that little old whaling village, old decrepit little wooden buildings falling apart. That's like one of the creepier scenes of the entire film. So that's a pretty cool setting. And it puts you in mind of like, hey, could you do a Predator film in somewhere like that? Like you do a 30 Days of Night, picture that film, Josh Hartnett with the vampires in Alaska. Almost said Alaska, I turned it Australian. Something like that, but with a predator, a solo predator. I think that would be sick. Alas, that is not the case with AVP. And AVP to me, man, I think AVP to me, I think goes D. I think AVP goes D tier. I can adjust these later. Well, when I'm wrapped up, is I'll go back and review my placements. But AVP to me goes D tier. Bad acting, bad practical effects, bad characters, bad casting, some decent set design. Just not great. Not great, boys. I wish I had more, I suppose, eloquent criticisms of it, but I just don't like it. What do you guys reckon? CT is too corny. Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you, Wilhelm. AVP is my personal guilty pleasure. It's probably the first time I saw Alien on screen. You saw Alien as like a xenomorph on screen? That's crazy, man. If this was like your first impression of seeing the xenomorph species, AVP is based on a video game. Yeah, I know the games were around before then. I wouldn't necessarily agree it's apt to say it's based on the video games because it follows none of the plot of the video games. Loosely based in that it's got a predator and a xenomorph. Like, yeah. Tactical dreadlocks, says Marty McFields, yeah. But brah, I'm not going to lie, I fucking love AVP. I watched it as a kid, so I might be biased, but I think it's good, campy, fun. Corky 9930. Yeah, fair. Obviously, if you have like your childhood memories of it, you're going to have your bias towards it, much like me with Predator. So I can't hate you for that. But yeah, it's not that good of a movie. B, maybe even C. The arcade AVP game storyline, so much better though. I want my Asian... What? I want my Asian military ninja waifu. Where does that happen? I don't remember the arcade AVP. Was that like a side-scroller thing? I'd say even D for poor action. Did the action suck too? No, not D. Total F. If the action was good, it could save it. Fun mixed bag stream concept. Renaming every US state with Aussie names. Yeah, because I called Alaska, Alaska. The games were sick with the Marine story. Yeah, the games were sick. And they did a great job of, I mentioned it before, balancing the strengths of every faction. Okay. Let's get back to it and move on. Hey, delete AVP. Next we have, so we had a bit of a drought here because we just went straight from, we went AVP and there was no other Alien or Predator films between, which went straight to AVP Requiem, which, hey man, how to describe AVP Requiem? Interesting film. Where's Ryan? There's one of the bloody one of the blokes in the chat. Ryan lives in the town where this one is set. Not where they filmed it. They filmed it in Canada. But they set this AVP Requiem in that little town in Colorado. Oh, I've forgotten the name. I can't remember. But there's a dude who lives there, and he was like, they nuked my town, bro. What's it called? Anyone remember? The town from this? Anyway, it's shot in that place, Hollywood North, in like Western Canada, where they go to like avoid taxes and all that, or pay cheaper rates to make their films. AVP does a lot of things right, fixes some things that AVP got wrong. AVPR, sorry, I should have said. They make the Predator much more capable and credible, and I think aligned with how the Predator should be. So the Predator from AVPR, I know, is like a fan favorite among diehard fans of the franchise. And you'll always see there's like, oh, which Predator was the strongest? The one from AVPR, like hectic, like nerd shit spurging out over like which Predator is the strongest, which I'm not judging because I pretty much do that, but just for other movies. And this one, this dude, the Predator from AVPR, he always comes out as like one of the top tier dudes because he's like a cleaner. He's like a dude you send him when there's a problem. He goes and cleans up the crime scene or covers it up on behalf of like on the Predator species. So that's a cool take on it to see he's not there on the trophy hunt, which is all we've seen about them up until this point. So that's, I think, something that redeems or carries this film a bit better is the intrigue behind not just that they portray the Predator better, but the story behind his character. It's something a bit different. And I think that's interesting because it's the first time you get a glimpse at something other than Predators are just intergalactic trophy hunters. They just want the most dangerous game. That's it. No, this dude is like a government. He's more like a CIA agent or something like this, if you think about it. Like Predator Johnny Kiriakou. Yo, Chub, get the hummus. You know, he's out here doing his business. Like he's trying to capture Abu Zubaydah. And it's an intriguing look at the Predator species compared to what we've had up until that point. With that being said, there's a lot of other not great things about the film. It kind of jumps the shark with the way they create the Pred alien can create more aliens by like impregnating pregnant women. Man, like when I say that aloud, it sounds even dumber than it appears when you watch the film. But yeah, I think that's what's happening. But I still think it's an improvement on AVP. The small town setting is good. The acting is, I'll say this, AVPR takes itself heaps more seriously than AVP. AVP goes down the route of what you guys called in the chat, like bad campy fun. AVPR, it's got a darker vibe to it, a darker angle. The characters are more serious and cynical, and it's more like that raw horror of them like being picked off and murdered in horrible ways. You get what I mean? So it's the characters though, with that being said, utterly forgettable. Like there's the main dude who comes back. I think he's an ex-army dude. There's the younger brother. There's the younger brother's love interest. There's the lady who's the helicopter pilot. But they're not really important, the characters. Or there's nothing about them even that's interesting. Does that make sense? What do you boys think? Before I chuck it down, let me see what you guys... Actually, no, I shouldn't read your comments. Let me put it where I think it goes before I corrupt my choice by reading the chat. So I'm going to put this where I think it goes. I think AVPR goes in C tier. I deem it better than AVP. I certainly don't think it's as fun or technically good a movie as Aliens Resurrection. So I think C is pretty apt for this. What say you, chat? What have we got? Let me scroll up. Up. Fun back Reddit. The games were sick Reddit. I had fun playing the Xenomorph. The Predator are buffed because they have to fight in tight spaces. It says Pekka 11429. Well, how come they're not buff in the first two movies then? You know, it's just a contradiction of what they're trying to do with the species, the intergalactic trophy hunters. And that's what they're doing in AVP. They're there to hunt the alien queen, right? So it doesn't make any sense that they'd be suddenly more jacked than the first two hunters, the jungle hunter and the city hunter. Aliens vs. Predator 1994 arcade game. Man, that's going back. That is a side-scroller thing, isn't it? S tier, the Doctor is in la 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 la. What? What are you saying, Gov? Hospital preggy buffet scene is sick. Jokes aside, D tier movie, too dark. No, really I was about to say that. That was on the tip of my tongue. That it is like pitch black. It's very the cinematography, that is, not the tone, like the emotional tone. It is pitch black. That is a fair criticism that you bring up there, Puddle. AVPR, good idea but bad movie. AVPR was super goofy with that Air Force or Army woman just chilling with a PV. That's right, she brings home night vision. I remember even thinking, like, you stole that, didn't you? How did you get that? That is not easy to you don't just take that home when you get given it in the army. AVPR, Requiem, total loss. AVPR is somehow worse than the first. The wolf predator is cool. There you go, the bloody wolf. That's what they call him. Somehow worse than the first. I don't think it's worse than the first. Again, it depends what you like out of them differently. I think I appreciated that it tried to take itself a bit more serious. I liked that. I didn't like the campiness of the first AVP. But like we talked about, it probably depends when you saw these. If you watched them as a kid, you're probably going to have the opposite take, which is fine. I never saw AVPR as a kid. I did watch it recently as an adult, and as an adult, I wasn't a fan, especially with the fact that it's following around a gang of dumb kids for a quarter of a movie. True, fair criticism, Corky, and that's probably they were trying to get the younger crowds into the cinema. But with that being said, what did they rate this thing? I think it was like, I don't know what the American and Australian ratings are different, so it's not a helpful discussion. But I think in Australia it's like MA, so which means you'd have to be over 15 to get into the cinemas to see this. The final battle with the Pred alien was amazing, beautiful practical effect. Is that like the one it's on the rooftop in the rain and it's probably pitch black? AVPR felt like it didn't take itself that seriously with so many over the top stuff. Well, it took itself more seriously than AVP, I think. AVPR was the most violent movie out of them all. Yeah, it was very gory as well, like highly violent compared to AVP, which, again, you don't show as much violence in your Aliens and Predator movie, really only for one reason. You want to reach a wider audience and make more cash money from the DVD sales and the cinema theatrical release. Call me cynical, but I think that's why. Maybe unintentional, but too many funny moments with the Pred alien and humans. Are you talking about what did you say before? Mama Dr. Preggy buffet. AVPR had totally different predator. Predators come in all sizes, some specialists in different environments. Okay, yeah, maybe. So were these guys jacked because they had to go to Antarctica? Is that what follows? Like, is that the line of thinking we're going for here? I'm not seeing it, man. Like, the one in the jungle is like tall, lean, skinny, built like a jaguar. The one in the city, tall, lean, skinny, built like a jaguar. Now we're going to Antarctica. We've got to be like Jim Bro giants. I think it's just that because you need more than one. Let's be real. Predator 1, Predator 2, you only need one Predator. So you only need one 7'5" Kevin Peter Hall to fill that role. When you're doing AVP in Antarctica, when you have whatever there is 4 or 5 Predators, you can't get 7.5 or 7'4" tall actors to meet that. So you just go for bigger, still tall, still big, but very thick, like hectic Jim Bro actors. City Hunter and Jungle Hunter, tall and maneuverable, while buff Predator are meant for tight spaces to restrict enemies. Wouldn't you say that a city has tight spaces to restrict enemies? Or like that a city is an example of tight and confined terrain? Like the subways and tunnels that he's commonly finding himself in the second one? I think you're reaching a little bit. I think you're defending them a little bit hard here, Gov. Like where maybe there's no congruent defense. No, they buff because they specialize in different roles. What do they specialize in? You're saying each individual one is a different role in AVP? Or they're different from the alien and the predator in the first and second film? I'm going to move on. You can continue that line of thought in the chat, and I'll continue to probably disagree with you when I next come back to the chat box. Let's delete AVPR, and let's move on to Predators. Yeah. Of course, Predators. Let me think for a second. 2010. Don't remember who directed it. I don't remember who directed Predators. Not at all. Not in the foggy. It's not Shane Black. No, Shane Black only came back for The Predator. Can't remember the director for Predators, but Predators iconically features Adrian Brody in his first sort of big action, not superhero, but lead action hero role. It's pretty much a redo of the first film, but with multiple predators instead of just the one jungle hunter. And they do the similar thing with a eclectic team of powerful soldier type humans, much like the first movie. But in this one, they come from various, not all soldiers, but various backgrounds that make them formidable prey for the predators. I like this movie. This is another rewatchable guilty pleasure of mine. I will very happily rewatch Predators over both of the AVPs any day of the week. Adrian Brody, I think, does a terrific job. There's some very cool gunplay, practical effects. They bring back the minigun, of course, but instead of giving it to tobacco chewing, homophobic, slur spitting, what's his name? Not Bill Duke, not Sonny Landham. Oh my god, what's his name? The dude who has a minigun in the first Predator. I can't remember the actor's name. Jesse Ventura. You give it to like the Russian Spetsnaz guy. Pretty cool. And the other characters are cool as well. So you have like your African RUF rebel dude. He's got the AK. You've got your like Japanese Yakuza gangster guy. He's got dual wielding like nickel plated Berettas and a samurai sword. Very sick. Just cool characters. And they sort of do that. They borrow that from the first film, which is something the second film didn't really do so much. Predator 2. But I like Predators. I think it's a very capable film. Again, you're never going to beat the original when you're trying to just redo the original. But man, look, I said I was going to go. I think Predators is B. This is like, I could see a world where I slide it into A on just my own preferences. But just being honest and being fair to the balance of this whole list and my collective opinions, I think B is a fair position for Predators. What say you, chat? Oh, fucking, I scroll down every time when I go to the chat. Okay. AVPR had turtle a ship. I read it. City Hunter and... fucking, here we go. Pekka, what's your name? Pekka1429. City Hunter and Jungle Hunter, tall and maneuverable, while buff predator and for thick. Did I read that? To restrict it. I read it. No, okay, I read it. Long city, you need long limbs to climb. Right. Marty McField's, I think it was just poor casting. Yeah, I agree. Restriction and brute force. Corky. You also got to remember that the predators in AVP were technically juveniles looking to get proven, so they haven't been streamlined from experience yet. Yeah, that's a fair story point, that they're like unblooded or whatever, right? They're trying to like cut their teeth, but I don't think that changes their physicality, or like if we're still having a conversation about their, their physical appearance. I don't think they suddenly lose 50 kilos just after they become blooded predators and go from being like jacked to being lean. Anyway, C, says Wilhelm. Martin Fields. Adrian Brody with an AA-12 is all I remember from that movie. Yeah, and that's good. Like the AA-12, I think, is an iconic bit of kit in that film. I think one of the first films to use it, or certainly the first to use it in such a prominent pride of place role. Like it's the main character's gun, and it makes it slap. It goes hard. DT is so bad. What? Man, I disagree. I quite dig Predators. You've got more to your comment. Skip the cinema, watched it on a plane. Complete waste of time. Snooze fest. Just rewatched the original again. I disagree. I think there's got compelling characters. I think it's just a good reboot of the original. The set design and scenes are pretty cool. Like wherever they filmed those forest things does look very alien. I like that. They didn't just go to the California redwoods outside fucking San Francisco where you go whenever you need like an outdoor scene, or that place in Canada where you just need an outdoor scene, which they did in Shane Black's one. And then it just looks like that place in Canada. They go to film all the movies and all the TV shows. So I appreciate what they did with the set work as well. They should have expanded the lore more with this one. Yeah, look, funny you mentioned that, because I was just reading when I was assembling this, clapping this together, that there was a sequel planned for Predators with Adrian Brody and Isabella, I'm not sure, Braga, the female in the character. She's like an IDF, Israeli Defense Force lady. In real life, I think she's Brazilian. Like actual Brazilian, like from the actors from the country of Brazil. I'm distracted. They were meant to fly away on the ship, and then there was going to be a sequel like set on the ship, which they described as being, it was meant to be like Die Hard, but with predators on the ship. So they kind of would have expanded the lore in that way. Guilty pleasure fun to watch, objectively pretty shit. Really like the AA-12 camo wrap. This one's pretty fun. Isn't Predators takes place on a different planet? Correct. It's a hunting game reserve planet. So they abduct the humans and they drop them on this planet specifically for the purpose of hunting them. Nah, Predators see. I wish they would expand the different types of alien and creatures. Okay, the scene design was not. Predators is fun, I will admit, especially the katana duel in the grass. Also fun rewatching, seeing the serial killer dudes subtly lying throughout. That is, it is a fun rewatch, and that reminds me of. It's got what's his name, Walton Goggins, who has now gone on to be. He's much bigger now, but back then he was also like the. I suppose he was the homophobic slur version of Blaine in this version. I can't quote it without being done by YouTube for no words, but he's like stabbing the predator and calling it the word. It's just like a comical scene. But he's a good actor too, and he plays just like he's not a serial killer, he's just like a gross, criminal, violent dude. I will say though, you mentioned the serial killer thing. That's kind of like weird, and even Walton Walter, his character kind of weird because what's the predator doing? Like hanging around in courtrooms, like with his cloak on, like one of these dudes is the most dangerous serial killer. Like, how does he? Well, they were tracking a serial killer. That's like I don't know. That's in depth. Like he's got his notepad out. You know, he's sat there in fucking watching the Zodiac and shit, murder people down by San Francisco like Bay. He's bloody good. Let's bring him to the. It's just weird. So the serial killer thing, but he's just not a physically empowering guy. Like, I don't know. I guess in the predator's mind, he's a predator. I get it in the most literal sense, but he is pretty obviously not going to be difficult prey for you, Mr. 7 to 8 foot tall alien species with a laser cannon on your shoulder and thermal vision in the jungle. The predators in Predators felt a bit weak to me. Rip to Danny right out of the gate. What if the humans just drop their weapons? Lol, waste of a trip then. See, I think in that case, they still would hunt them. In Predators, that is. Because they've been abducted because of their, what would you call it, like alpha apex predator or apex species status, as in they're all powerful humans who are soldiers and combatants in their various fields. So I think the predators wouldn't care if they were armed or not, because they've already sort of been selected for that purpose. Waste of a trip then. I read it. Predators was enjoyable. Bit of a controversial one, but that's okay. Predators going in B tier. Let's move on. Prometheus. This is the first return to the Alien franchise in a hot minute. So what did we have before this? We had Alien Resurrection, and then there's a bit of a gap, and then we come back with Prometheus which is Ridley Scott as well. So the GOAT returns. 2012. Good casting. I think great, compelling characters. It's where we get introduced to Michael Fassbender playing the terrifically written android character David. He does a great job. He does a bang-up job. Noomi Rapace is good. Who else is in it? Charlize Theron is good. Idris Elba's good. All the supporting kids, they're all good. I think it's well casted and well acted. I think they all do a really good job. I've got no complaints, I suppose, with the performances. It's, man, Prometheus is fucking tough to rank, to be honest, now I think about it. Because, man, I like it, and I've rewatched Prometheus many times. Sure, you could critique at a micro nitty-gritty level some of the dumb things they do in the film. That's a criticism that I'll steal as well for Alien Covenant. Really dumb. But in terms of science and, military and security, all this, there's lots of dumb little decisions made that get them to this point of the whole movie turning into the catastrophe fuck that it invariably descends into. But it's weird and it's difficult to rate, I think, because Prometheus, I feel, is a great film, but it's not a terrific Alien film. Which, now that I say that, I don't think that's a profound take. I think that's probably a line people have used before. Maybe I've even subliminally heard that and stolen it from somewhere. But I really like Prometheus. I just don't necessarily like it like as an Alien film. If you could pretend that it is just a standalone thing, separate of James Cameron, Ridley Scott, and Xenomorphs, and it's like a really good film, man. Set design, terrific. Something I'm obviously favoring and maybe even biased towards because I keep mentioning it. But I love when they go to the effort of going to a cool location for these films. So I think they film most of this in Iceland, the volcanic rocks and shit of wherever that is. I'm pretty sure it's Iceland. So very cool. They go to a foreign planet in the film and they make it an alien planet in the film and they make it look like an alien planet to us, the viewers, when they're creating the film. But it's just not as good. But again, do I rate it based on how it compares to other alien movies, or do I rate it on its own merits? I think just going with my gut here, using a bit of intuition, applying both those thoughts, I think Prometheus is, man, I don't know. It's either B or A. Like, I think A, if you just say on its own merits as a movie, nothing to do with the Xenomorph Alien franchise. I think if you tie it in, and then also what they did with this to the storyline in both Prometheus and Covenant, because they do sort of, what's the word? Is there some retconning that goes on with the way they make this story happen with David and the Xenomorphs and the black goo? I won't lie, boys, I've kind of lost track of that. Maybe you dudes in the chat can educate me, get me back up to speed. But the original franchise up until this point is that the engineers, who were the weird species that they find in both Alien and Aliens, this crashed spaceship, they use xenomorphs as a bioweapon. But then Prometheus and Covenant retcon that, and now xenomorphs were actually created by David the alien after discovering the black goo. No, wait, but then they found the black goo on the crashed ship. So, fucking, I've lost track. I'm not going to pretend that I understand it, because I don't. So, if one of you dudes in the chat gets that part of it better than me, please let me know. I'll confess, I kind of lost interest in the lore and the backstory of the xenomorph and the species and how the species came about, partially due to the way Prometheus and Covenant sort of started handling it with the black goo and David and the engineering and the science experimentation on Dr. Elizabeth Shaw and all that. So I kind of resent it for that. Now that I'm thinking about it and saying it aloud. Outside of that, good movie. But yeah, I think for me, because of sort of its lasting hangover on what it did to the franchise, I think it's going in B. What do you boys reckon? Oh my god! 80 until, okay, the Goo the Goo film. Sorry, back to chat. Up. I love Prometheus. It adds so much to the lore. The Goo film. I must be honest. I really like Prometheus. I love everything with Idris Elba, but the aliens are weird. Yes, so I like the actors. I like the characters. 80 until the engineers showed up. It's difficult to rate this. Good parts are good. Bad parts are bad. Claw Machine is memorable. Cuddles the Trilobite is cute. The engineers are a good addition to the lore. Yeah, true. They do, you know what? I should have mentioned that. They do flesh out the engineers. So they're expanding on the story introduced us. But that is a fair point. I think maybe it could deserve more points for that. I actually liked it, just not really saw it as an alien movie. Not a fan of the way engineers are handled. It's just so funny seeing the disgust the engineers have when looking at the humans. Yeah, because David gets up there and he starts yapping to him, an engineer, and he wakes up like with his 1,000-year hangover, and he's like, "What the fuck are these like cockroaches that we dropped off at this other planet doing here, talking to me through a robot? Get out of my face." Prometheus made no sense. It's so weird when that engineer just went all unga bunga on the humans who woke him up. Haven't had his coffee yet. There's that terrific 4chan green text on that. I wish I could. I've shared it on Instagram before, ages back. I'm not active on Instagram, by the way. If anyone's from DM me, don't, because I'm not using it. So yeah, anyone who's watching this who's also an old school Instagram viewer, my apologies to you. I'm just not using Instagram pretty much at all because, to be frank, it is simply not good use of my time. It sounds rude, but sorry boys, that's the way it is. Prometheus has one of the. Sorry, I read it. No, I didn't. Prometheus is one of the scariest scenes in the franchise when she has to take the alien out of her stomach. It's so tense. It's gross. But yeah, I know the scene you're talking about. C. A tier dropped to B because Gaslight Gatekeep girl boss couldn't run to the side. That's right. She's outrunning the crashing spaceship. Black goo is some military thing they use to cleanse planets for terraforming purposes, I think. Martin Field says, I think it hasn't been fully fleshed out. Covenant and Prometheus are separate from the rest. The xenomorph are a bioweapon created by the engineers. That's why the xenomorphs can't reproduce, because the engineers want it to be controlled. Yeah, well, we can speak more to this in Covenant because that sort of expands on that, doesn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. There's more, what do you call it? There's more nuance to the black goo and the engineers and the xenomorphs and shit based on what David does. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, I'm leaving Prometheus in B tier. for me, that's I think where I'll chuck it. I can see the arguments for AT though, and I wouldn't be offended if someone put this in AT, or if like in your list it's on AT. I certainly think it could go up. I don't think it could go down. And certainly I don't think it's C, because it is a good film of its own merits. Okay, that brings us to the next one. This is taking longer than I thought. How long's this stream been going? You boys in a rush? Anyone need to go toilet? Got to go bloody drain the lizard, get a coffee, do whatever you got to do. What are we up to? Hour and 25. That's probably only actually an hour and 1 hour after all my technological issues at the start. Alien Covenant next up. Directed, was also Ridley Scott? Question mark. Yeah, man, I think Ridley Scott came back for Covenant. So we had a bit of a gap, but there wasn't anything between these two. It just went Prometheus and then Alien Covenant. Man, Covenant's a weird one because, oh, fucking hell. Look, it's a good movie. I've watched it a couple of times. I've rewatched it. I think the same, honestly, a lot of similar praises that I give to Prometheus, but maybe a lot of similar criticisms. And the actors are good. The casting is good. I like what they do with who's the guy who does the David, when I was a very young boy, I saw the devil and I never forgot his face. I've seen, what's that line? I'm butchering the quote, but it's after he shoots up the neomorph or whatever you call the xenomorph that David's been creating, and he's got his EF-88. That's another cool thing about this movie. They're the first movie to use the EF-88, like the new Australian Army service rifle. By new, I mean like circa 2017. Oh, sorry, 2014. Styrofoam bullpup essentially, but made in Australia, and some fruity changes to the outside. But yeah, they had EF-88s or F-90s in this film. Pretty cool. With an extended rail. So they made this extended rail for the movie to make it look futuristic before the Australian Army even had the extended rail. And the Australian Army still doesn't have the extended rail. Tangent aside. So some fun gun trivia for you there. What's that actor's name? He's in Thin Red Line or something like this. Anyway, he's cool. He's really good. David, of course, Michael Fassbender back again, smashes it. But it's just, what's bad about it? Like, I get, like, who someone said in the chat there, I think is a fair take. Marty said, I think it hasn't been fully fleshed out. Covenant and Prometheus are separate from the rest. If you look at them almost like that, like a separate sort of franchise and a separate story, which they obviously are, maybe I'll think about it the way, like, The Lord of the Rings is the first 4 movies, maybe the first 3. Aliens Resurrection is kind of its own little weird space. And then The Hobbit is Alien Covenant, Alien Prometheus, and whatever the third one's. Oh, we've already got the third one, though, and that didn't follow on, so there goes that. Never mind. Yeah, I wish I could have given this more credit for that, if they'd sort of carried on the story of Covenant, but they didn't. So, man, I'm having a hard time ranking Covenant. I think just off my gut, I want to rank it almost the exact same as Prometheus. I like it just the same as Prometheus, but for slightly different reasons. And I think I dislike it for different reasons. I dislike Alien Covenant because I think the weakest part of it is the end, the final act when they get back on the main spaceship. And then it's like they realize, look, people thought Prometheus was a bit weird, so we've got to kind of go back to our roots. And the final 10 minutes of the movie, they just make it Alien 1 again. And its main lady, I can't remember her name, and a few of the other characters running around the ship in the dark with an alien chasing them. And it almost feels like they rammed it in there, the like last 10 minutes of this movie. So I think that's my biggest criticism of it in terms of the pacing and the story. Prometheus kind of stuck to its guns a bit more. It didn't try and do anything extra in that way. But then I think the first 2 acts of Alien Covenant are really strong also. And I think they're scarier. I think the setting of Alien Covenant is more terrifying than Prometheus, the old like engineer city that's all, well, wasted because David appeared and dropped black goo all over them and murdered them. And I think it's filmed in like New Zealand, I want to say. They make it look pretty alien though. So, man, I'm just going to go B. C's too harsh, A's too strong, so B feels good for me for Alien Covenant. What say you boys? Covenant has a beautiful new xenomorph. It's got a few, doesn't it? Or you just mean that it's a new as in freshly spawned. Prometheus is my favourite. Up. Padu says, Covenant is a weaker Prometheus. Mosquito Swarm Xenomorph. What do you mean Mosquito Swarm Xenomorph? Felt way too overpowered. Neomorph's kind of interesting though. Maybe too influenced by zombie films of that era. Covenant, I read it. Got to do my morning jog, man. I can wait until after the stream. Yeah, okay. Covenant would have been such a different movie had the Prometheus actors come back to film it, but they all dared. Actress, sorry. Prometheus actress Numi Rapace. Well, yeah, she's been bloody chopped into bits by David, for experimentation. This one was interesting since David is now like, hey, look at this room I filled with eggs. Yeah. Oh, where did he get the eggs? Again, boys, fill me in. David flies away with a black goo at the end of Prometheus. He drops the black goo on the engineers. He lands on the engineer planet. Now he's got somehow xenomorph eggs that typically, to our knowledge up until this point, have to be birthed from a queen xenomorph that then spawn after they face hugged man, who I can't remember the actor's name, I was talking about him before, and they spawn the exact same xenomorph we've seen from the other films. How? Covenant is a bit slow at the start. Kuba says, I watched Covenant right after a 3-day long field exercise. The amount of studio decisions in the movie just put me off so much. C or D. I really want to watch what happens after the end of Covenant. Why did the lady and guy go and take a shower? Yeah, exactly. The weaker last act of the movie. They just needed their horror Alien 1 scenes in there. White Walkers, lol. David goos all over the engineers. Yeah, he cooms all over the planet. People complained there was no xenomorphs in Prometheus. I think it was explained to use the female doctor from Prometheus to make the xenomorph eggs. How? David is secretly a chicken synthetic. Her body anyway. Gross. Okay, look, lots of good yarn in here. No one really... Oh, a few other people with conflicting ratings. I think B, I'm happy with though anyway. Let's move on. Delete Alien Covenant and let's get this up on the screen. The Predator. Oh my goodness. So this is Shane Black's return to the franchise. Shane Black, to the uninitiated, plays the character of Hawkins in the first Predator film. He's the radio man in the jungle with the potty mouth, and he tells the jokes about his girlfriend's whoopee being as big as a house, etc. Just a crass gentleman, crass character. But Shane Black is renowned for his dialogue. He's directed a bunch. I think he directed one of the Lethal Weapons. I'm not sure which one. And the one I think I remember most from his dialogue is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is Val Kilmer and had his troubled past, but now is a superstar. Robert Downey Jr. And he also did Iron Man 3. So if you're watching like the Iron Man films in sequence, then you wonder why Iron Man 3, the dialogue sounds so... It's not cheesy, it's like playful. It's very like back and forth, quippy. That's Shane Black, man. Shane Black loves his quips and his fast back and forth exchanges between characters, like they're ribbing on each other kind of thing. And that comes through in The Predator. With that being said, I'm trying to give... I'm doing my best here to give some compliments to this movie, boys. This movie sucks. I was really, really disappointed. I thought Shane Black would come back and rejuvenate the Predator franchise. The direction they took the story in this film was terrible. The plot was absurd. They had the super apex alpha predator who comes back and hunts other predators, but then at the very end there's also the insane predator killer suit, which is, that's what the predator's doing. He's delivering us this equipment and this weapon to kill other predators, but then he also spends 90% of the movie violently murdering any human that he sees. Just a dumb movie, man. But back to the Shane Black point, some actually hilarious dialogue in here that did make me almost chuckle. Man, I think I bust up laughing a few times watching this for the first time for the character engagements and the dialogue. But in terms of being a good movie and a good Predator movie, it sucks. But yeah, some funny parts. There's that bit where Olivia Munn's character, doctor, scientist lady, they first bring her to the secret super duper science lab where they've got the Predator strapped to the lab table deep underground. And she goes into the security checkpoint and she's with NSA, CIA man guy, and there's like the receptionist dude there behind the desk, and he's like, "Here you go, put this on." The dude, CIA man, gives her like an ID pass, and then it cuts, like hard cuts to the dude behind the desk, and he's just like, "Is it just your imagination, or is this haunted house actually stretching and getting thinner?" And then hard cuts back to CIA man, and he's just like, "Every fucking time." And that's it. That's the joke, like implying that every time someone new comes to this thing, this dude, this fucking Asperger's autist spastic says this weird shit. Man, and I remember like I snort laughed because it was just so out of left field. But I think that's classic Shane Black writing, script writing. But aside from those funny moments, crap film, I think comfortably D tier. Only redeemed by nothing to do with Predator, nothing to do with the franchise, nothing to do with the action or anything else that a Predator movie should do well. Really just the dialogue between the characters. And there's those other funny scenes like on the bus between, what's his name, Thomas Jane and what's his name? Peele? Key and Peele. Peele? I can't remember Peele's first name. The funny black dude. One half of Key and Peele. I don't know his first name. They're just like sledging each other on the bus hard. And it gets very crass. It's like potty humor, like bro chuckles and stuff, but some of it's funny. I don't know. What do you boys reckon? Chat. Up. David laid the egg. Terrible movie, but fun, says Marty. I just watched The Predator last night. I laughed some, but man, kind of dumb. You watched it last night. Bro, what's that line that I was trying to remember? When they go on the elevator. And then there's that other part on the bus when they first bring in the main character dude, who's, the straight down the line Army Ranger dude, and he's actually seen the Predator, and he's not like insane or doesn't have Asperger's like all these other like morons on the bus do. And they're all just like tearing into him. And at one point he snaps and he's like, "Well, just shut the fuck up." And they just start doing like, "Shut the fuck up," like teasing him. And that's funny because that's like what would happen. There'd just be a bunch of dudes like, "Shut the fuck up," So that is a good laugh. But yeah, the rest of it just sucks. Surprisingly, the Super Predator is something, I guess, yeah. Surprisingly not the worst Predator movie in this timeline. CT is good for this, I think. I think C's generous. They wanted to make a second movie with a cliffhanger at the end. Oh, I'm glad they didn't. Maybe a F tier just for the Predator. Not Jordan Peele, Michael Keane. Michael Keane. I'll get them mixed up. My apologies. Not Jordan Peele, Michael Keenan was in it. Thank you. My error. Dialogue was probably the best part of the movie, but it didn't feel like Predator movie or even action or horror. It was just meh all over. Yeah, true. Like, you're right. I think dialogue's funny and fun, but it's not. Yeah, that's a fair criticism you raised there, Kuba. I don't think it's suitable for a Predator film. It's like he just took his character from Predator 1 and was like, my character says naughty jokes, and just wrote that into an entire movie. They tried to mix horror and comedy, which is extremely difficult to do. True. Okay, Predator is going in staying in DT. Next up, we have Prey. Prey. Everyone's seen this. This came along more recently. Fun fact, Prey at the time, the only way I could watch Prey was because it was not a theatrical release. It didn't go to cinemas. Prey only came out on, as you can see on the picture here, Hulu in the US. But the only way I could get Prey was on Disney Plus. So I got Disney Plus specifically just to watch Prey. And then to my glee, found that on Disney Plus, they have every Fox movie ever. So they have all the Predator and all the Alien films. So ended up pretty much keeping Disney Plus around on the streaming service roster just for that reason. So Prey came out Disney Plus. Prey's a really good film. Prey, I would argue, does a better job than Predators of redoing the first movie, but just with a different character in a different setting. And I would make the case that you could probably keep making Predator movies until the end of time if you did that, but just kept it simple and do it well. And I think they did that with Prey. They take the concept, there's an alien, it comes to Earth, it's hunting increasingly dangerous game, and you have some characters who are martial in nature, as in they have combat prowess. In this case, the Native Americans who can, they have tomahawks, they have bows and arrows, they have not swords, but they have Fernando, mate, you want a bloody... Sorry, boys, the cat's meowing his little tits off, making a scene. They're a martial race, right? They have combat powers. You could do that with Predator in any settings. And it's been teased before, with the Raphael Andolini pistol from Predator 2. And there's a whole comic series they released about how that was like Predator fighting pirates and shit. So if you just did that, but you made it a good film, as in well acted, well paced, good set design, good practical effects, I think you could make decent Predator films forever. Prey does that well. And I think Prey is a high A-tier movie quite comfortably. It, for that reason, man, I'm kind of repeating myself, but it keeps it simple. It sticks to the formula of the first movie. It does it in a compelling setting with characters that make sense, and it just pulls it off well. The effects are good, both practical and like digital effects or whatever. The location is terrific. Obviously, you just have to go out into the backwoods of wherever this was, Colorado or somewhere. It's got to find some part of America that looks like it's still untouched by colonization, and then you can pull this off. But it's just a good film. It's solid. I think A tier. I can't put it in S, and I don't think it belongs in S, kind of for the reasons I said, which is that you can never redo Predator as good as Predator. Because if you've seen Predator, then you know what's going to happen. And you understand everything you need to understand. Okay, Fernando, get your ass off me, mate. Get down, mate. Come on. Please. Sorry, boys. Cat disruption. 1 second. I think you would give Prey S if you'd never seen Predator. I think that's logically the conclusion you'd come to. But I'm going for A. What do you boys reckon? What say you? It's always, dialogue is probably, they tried to make, no, I've read it. It's like a bachelor party movie. Yeah, Shane Black's Predator, agree. It's always night in the movie. I did not like Prey. I love Prey. The duality of man. Pekka says, I did not like Prey. Marty McField says, I love Prey. So cool seeing them fight the Predator with Native American weapons. Prey's definitely highlighted the franchise with the unique setting and all. I agree. The design was kind of neat with the bone helmet. True. Yeah, I didn't even speak about the actual Predator itself. I think they made him look sick. He kind of stays true to the roots of the first movie's Predators, but they gave him that unique skull mask. They gave him some unique weapons as well. And man, that Predator in Prey, he is scary. He feels like menacing and threatening and really brutal and like violent and just like a scary horror villain, which is something you definitely don't get that from AVP. You get that a little bit. You get that from Predators, but not as much, man. The Predator in Prey is just, I think, the most menacing Predator and the scariest one since the first two movies. So yeah, that's another good point. Whoever said that. Annoying Dog 37. Yeah, very good point. I should have given Prey some credit for that too. What are tribes doing with Tomahawk missiles? Bloody, Raytheon and General Dynamics, they will sell bloody ice to Eskimos. They've got to make their money somehow. There was a very low amount of dialogue in the movie. Yeah, that's fine. I don't necessarily see that as being problematic. Really strong movie, good. I saw a thing that they were considering making the Prey film entirely in, I don't know which tribe of Indians they were in the film. Like, are they Navajo or Comanche or Apache? I'm not American, man. I don't know Native American history very well. But yeah, I saw a thing they were considering doing it all in that language, but then they steered away from it, thinking like, that's probably a bit too much. But personally, I think that would have been sick. Like if they'd gone full apocalypto with it and had it not even been English, I think that would have been terrific. What better way to show that you're taking this film and the franchise you're doing like very seriously, or taking the source material very seriously? So I think that would have been sick. Cougar says, really strong movie, good acting, good special effects, all over solid A. The French trapper scene was honestly so cool. That was. Seeing them try and combat the alien without understanding it, that was a cool scene. The feral predator is my favorite predator. I'm impressed you don't have I didn't watch this tier. Yeah, look, I don't think I'd make a tier list with a series or something like this that I hadn't watched. I don't think it'd be fair to like criticize it in that way. Good day. Hello, LM Wolfman232. The movie was very quiet, definitely a lack of dialogue. Yep, someone said that. The Predator and Prey seemed kind of dried out, like an actual different variant instead of most most moist. You're sort of literally dried out. Fernando, piss off, mate. Get down, please. Get down. Come on. Thank you. What were you saying? Annoying dog. The predators seem dried out like actual different variant instead of kind of moist like a frog in different designs. B type for me. No, then I have to read subtitles. I like subtitles. The Comanche. I have subtitles on anyway because I can't hear shit. So I like reading what they're saying. The Comanche. Nice. Okay, Prey for me is A. I don't think that's like a hot take. I think Prey was a commercial and critical success, and I think most people, even fans of the Predator franchise, thought Prey was a good film as well. So I don't think this is like some fringe take, putting a Prey in A tier. Moving on to Alien Romulus. So Alien Romulus is the most recent, yes, correct, entry in the Alien series of just like the Alien film, right? So we're away from Predator, we're away from AVP, we're back to Alien. I don't remember the director. I don't remember who directed it. Apologies. I don't even remember any of the actors, man. I don't remember in the cast. With that being said, I think that they did a good job, despite me seemingly forgetting them now. I've only seen Alien Romulus once, compared to, say, some of these other movies, which I saw when A, I was younger, B, I had more disposable time in my life where I could sit down and like rewatch movies just for the sake of it. Now I don't, so I've seen Alien Romulus once, I've never watched it again. I remember thinking it was decent. I also kind of remember thinking it was like, not fan servicey, but it's almost as if they wanted to take the successful elements from the successful Alien films, put them in a blender, and then say, hey, make a movie that takes the best parts of the Alien movies thus far, and then we make a whole new movie with it. ChatGPT do that. Maybe cynical, but does anyone know what I mean? Do you get one? Like, it had the pulse rifle. It had the face huggers scene. It had like locked in the room with the face huggers scene. Of course, xenomorphs, of course, but it's sort of like they just went, we need to get back to basics. You know, we've been straying too far from Xenomorph God with Prometheus and Covenant, and the mixed reviews, and the punters are freaking out because they're like, what the hell is this? Where's the Xenomorph? There's no alien. I watched the Alien movie and there wasn't even an alien. You can picture some Rotten Tomatoes review like that about Prometheus. So it's like for Alien Romulus, they just went, we got to get back to our roots and let's keep it safe. The way we're going to keep it safe is just by putting in all the cool stuff from all the other movies. Of course, they bring back, what's his name? Android from Alien. I can't remember the character's name. I can't remember the actor's name either. Bilbo Baggins. So call me cynical, but I feel that's how they went about it, and I can't help but kind of judge it negatively for that. I will say, though, I think one of the standout performances, the dude who plays the friendly, for lack of a better term, android in this one, which is the black dude, he does a good job. His character's really kind of cool. I'd say one of the more compelling parts of the film. And then the way he interacts with the other android dude from the first movie, I can't remember his name. But aside from that, man, honestly, and like I said, I've only seen this once. I've never really like given it more analysis or deep thought or anything. So a lot of it has kind of been forgotten. And if it's forgettable, that's not great. Aside from my memory being, it's like they tried too hard. I think Alien Romulus, man, this is tough. This is really tough because part of me wants to say C. Part of me wants to say C, but then part of me also thinks, you know what? I don't think it's any worse than Covenant or Prometheus. Sure, maybe it doesn't do anything as daring or take any risks the way these guys did storytelling-wise, but on its own merits as a film, I don't think it's worse than them. So, you know, honestly, I'm thinking B. I think B is fair. I don't think it goes up. It definitely doesn't go into A, but it could slip to C. But I think it's as good as Prometheus and Covenant, just for different reasons. Are you quite all right, Fernando? I'm streaming here, mate. You can see that. The headset's on. Dad's yapping. Means the internet's connected and there's people listening. And now they're listening to you shriek your tits off in the corner of the room. Settle down, mate, please. Alien Romulus, B tier. What say you, chat? Visually stunning. Romulus, excluding Alien Earth, which was only Alien. I didn't put Alien Earth in here. I watched it, but series, not a movie, right? Romulus was a beautiful movie. Wow, nah, B for me. Oh no, that's the old one. Romulus, Reddit, visually stunning. Easy S tier. It good. Black Robo actor had the most difficult acting job, doing a 2-in-1. Romulus is almost a remaster of the original. That's a remaster of the original? I think that's a crazy take. I think it's a very generous take. Facehugger Health Corridor part was sick. They had some new ideas. I get what you mean, but I do think it was done well. Also, the smart rifle was so cool. Wish I had one. It was a bit safe, but the human xenomorph hybrid was interesting. I forgot about that until you just mentioned it. Okay, see, yes, it was interesting, but again, the cynic in me says they went, what was good about Alien Resurrection? Oh, the newborn, the human alien xenomorph hybrid. We need a human xenomorph hybrid. And so that's how you ended up with that. I do think the one in Covenant was freakier, though, than the newborn from Prometheus. The Covenant one was fucking scary conceptually. Hot take. Excuse me. Romulus is Hollywood making an Aliens isolation movie. That was actually a good movie. Definitely better than Covenant. Really solid A. Solid A. Potentially be low S. Zero G acid blood corridor scene was pretty cool. I didn't like the android constantly switching between moral and objective, just like my team in Alien Fireteam Elite. Man, I haven't played that game, but apparently that game is incredible. That's like the RTS, well, not RTS, but you have like your little squad. It's like a company of heroes kind of thing, right? But you can like upgrade them and shit. But it's almost like a tower defense game as well or something. Fireteam Elite. I'd actually like to give that a go sometime. Romulus human hybrid felt more like them trying to bridge Prometheus, though, especially with the black goo milk. I'll be honest, man, I don't remember that part about Romulus. Maybe I'm being too harsh on Romulus. But now am I a spineless jellyfish if I change it to A just because you guys all said it's A and S? You know what I mean? What I will say is, based on what I remember from it, I'm going to leave it at B because that's what my gut said. I acknowledge your points. I do see how it could go to A. The only way I could give this a just and fair score, I think, is to rewatch it because it's the only one on this list that I've only seen once from the Alien franchise. So I probably haven't given it as much due diligence as I have the other films. I'm leaving it in B for now. That's purely based off my first impressions. But I do think you guys have fair takes regarding how it could be higher. If that makes sense. Some more chat real quick. Watch it again and come back. Okay, BRB. Yeah, I'll just leave the stream going and then I'll go bang it on. BRB hiding under the desk. Romulus human. I read it. Okay. Deleting aliens Romulus. Next up we have Control C, Control V. Predator Badlands. This was the reason I even did this tier list. I watched this not too long ago, so it's the one freshest in my head. Another Disney Plus / Hulu special. And it kind of is what got me thinking about, how does this stack up to the rest of the franchise, Predator and Aliens? And hey, maybe I can do something CSRC related about this. Can I do a tier list? I like tier lists. So here we are. It was... Look, I went into this expecting and ready to cringe at every moment. But I think it was a fairly serviceable movie. I didn't personally love it. I thought some of the dynamic between Robot Lady, I can't remember character's name, and the youngling Predator, I thought was good. I know when the first images of this came out, everyone was losing their mind because he had like the Zoomer haircut or like the mohawk braids. And everyone was saying, oh, it's dumb, that's not how predators look. And then the argument, well, he's like a junior predator. He doesn't have all his dreadlocks yet or whatever. Honestly, I'm not too fussed. Like, I think visually the effects of him and how he looked was good enough. Like, whether he has dreadlocks is accurate or not, I don't mind. I think it's a serviceable designing looking predator anyway. The story behind him is pretty cool. That he speaks in predator language is kind of cool. Like that you got to subtitle that. I was a fan of that. I'm glad they did that rather than, I don't know, just give him like, I am a predator. We like to eat bugs and kill humans. Like, if they'd done something silly like that. So I think the subtitles was the right choice. Wasn't super thrilled with robot lady, robot girl. I get what they're going for, like the charming and sweet, friendly android sort of trope. Thought she was a little bit maybe annoying, but I get what they're doing. With this one, it's on Disney, right? They're catering for a younger audience, and that sort of was pretty. It was pretty apparent to me in some of the dialogue, the way these characters interacted, even just the action. And it's not a particularly violent film, particularly compare it to say Predator 2. The days of gore in Predator movies, forget about it. Some in Prey. Prey was violent, so again, another plus for Prey, why I think Prey deserves higher. But yeah, Predator Badlands, man, they just went very Disney with it. And it was almost sort of what I had criticized it for before even seeing it, which is that when you make a new Predator movie, you can go one of two directions. You remake the first movie, you keep it very simple, and you change the settings, as in the location and the characters. And that's what they did with Prey, and I think Prey was a very, very good film. Option two is you get rid of the horror element of Predator, which Prey keeps, and you turn it into Predator, the franchise, the creature, Yautja, whatever they're called, versus big dumb generic alien slash monster number 256. And then you end up with a franchise that goes down the path of King Kong versus Godzilla, Godzilla versus Mecha Kong, Mecha Kong versus Giant Bat, Giant Bat versus Kong teams up with Giant Butterfly, Giant Butterfly, Mecha Butterfly versus Godzilla versus King Kong versus Undersea Slug, acid spraying asshole bug monster 2020 from planet Perseon Omicron I8 or whatever. And Badlands kind of strayed into that territory, which I wasn't a huge fan of, okay? The thing is, I think Badlands, man, I think a lot of people liked it, just from what I was seeing in chat and some of their live streams. And I went into it, I swear to God, I went into it with like an open mind. I certainly didn't hate it, but I just certainly don't think it's as strong as Prey, which is the other new Predator film, right? I think Prey is a much better Predator movie. So for me, Predator Badlands goes in B tier. If I put it in A, I am then having to say that I enjoyed Badlands as much as Prey, and that I think it's as capable a Predator movie as much as Prey. And I don't think either of those things are true. What do you boys say? Chat. Here we go. The first comment I read is, I love Badlands. Hot take, Badlands is the best Predator movie. Strong disagree. The duality of man. Pekka says, hot take, Badlands is the best Predator movie. Pato says, D tier, OMG, she wouldn't shut up. Okay, so we're not, what's the word like? There's not unanimous support in the chat. So many cool creatures and designs. I don't want other creatures though, man. Like, so that's the thing for me. When I watch a Predator movie, I want to see a movie about a predator. So when you think about those examples I said, you can go one of two directions in a Predator film. Prey did that. Prey only had one intergalactic creature, and that was the Predator. And I think Prey is a sick movie. In Predator Badlands, we introduce all these other aliens, and there's a big giant other invincible alien, and then there's a little sidekick creature that turns out to be, the offspring of the thing. And then there's the bugs in the bugs in the river. There's the spider things. There's the plants that will kill you. I'm not interested in that. I want to see a movie about the Predator. Get what I mean? I loved Badlands. Who said that? I read it. Predator. How many times are you going to tell me? Predator is a weird character with wonky logic. The humor isn't it, and human robot girl talk is a bit much, but it's an amazing movie. They made a whole new language for the Predators. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I tip my hat to that. Like, I like that he's speaking in Predator language instead of just like English with a silly accent. That would be dumb. The end battle with Nor was amazing. See, man, this is where I disagree. I don't like watching like that, the giant robot versus Predator thing, or Predator versus giant alien thing. Like, I don't like that. You might, and that's cool, but it's just not what I enjoy about these films. I enjoy the human side of the horror element of the films. Yo, Badlands might honestly be one of my favorites in the series so far. It's not a horror movie in the slightest, but it was awesome as an action movie. It's a decent, not really Predator film, but the creatures had story were fun compared to other Predator movie. It's D on its own or B or A. Option 3, do Alien 1, but swap the solo xenomorph with the solo predator. Yeah, well, you kind of, that is arguably pretty much similar to Predator, just with a spaceship setting instead of the jungle. Mecha Butterfly Godzilla vs. Adam and his eggs. It's S tier. Badlands is S tier. No. Also love the way it doubles down on the shared Alien x Predator universe with Weyland-Yutani and the androids. Yeah, true. Bringing Weyland-Yutani into it was nice. I love the cool alien creatures. I love fictional ecosystems. The Predator is 5 feet, I believe. Low tech Yautja is interesting, though. Caveman Predator. I'm leaving it B. Decent film. Certainly not my favorite Predator film. And of the two paths, which way young Predator director, any other Predator directors ever watched this, you got two choices. It's not my favorite of the two. Not saying it's terrible. Not saying it's not a workable movie. It's just not my favorite way to take the Predator franchise. Not my preferred way. Okay, the last one here, boys. Oh, what have I done? Also on Disney Plus, was Predator Killer of Killers. I really enjoyed this. I thought this was fun. Same dude who did Prey, unlike Predator Badlands, which was a different director. I don't remember who. Predator Killer of Killers, unsurprisingly, based on everything I just said, I liked because it took option 1 from the Predator movie route. You take Predator, you put it in a different setting. So in Predator Killer of Killers, if you haven't seen it, it's what do you call it when it's like a few different an anthology film, like it's a few different storylines in the same movie, and it's got a Predator back in the I don't know when, the Viking era, and so he's hunting and killing a bunch of Vikings, and then he gets in a fight with the Viking man. Then there's another one, and he's back in Imperial Japan era, and it's Imperial Japanese samurai man, and he's fighting and killing, or fighting and battling a Predator. And then he goes to World War II, and it's a World War II. He's like a young aviation technician guy on like an aircraft carrier in the Pacific. And the Predators are like hunting down the World War II, what are they, P-41s, the planes that the US Navy, Air Force, whoever, used in World War II. And it combines all these characters at the end. They get like frozen in time. They go to the alien planet, the Predator planet, and then they sort of have to do a Hunger Games thing there. And that's kind of where it not gets weird, but they then bring these characters together, and it goes from being 3 separate films to being one film. I thought it was quite cool. I liked that because, as I've just said, it went down my preferred path to take a Predator movie. Honestly, my only real complaint with it, which is probably an unfair complaint, but it's utterly a matter of personal preference, which we all have. It's animated, man. I don't froth, and I don't typically watch animated stuff. I've made a point before of I'm not an animu dude, man. Like, I'm going to ban the word. I just had a comment about it a couple of days ago. This is a side tangent. I'm going to ban the word gate from my YouTube comment section. That's a thing you can do. You can put like filter words in. So certain comments, if they use a word, will get banned. I've never done it. I don't have any reason to do it yet. But I'm so sick of hearing about the animu, or I don't know what it is, the Japanese cartoon Gate, that I'm losing my mind. I never want to watch Gate. I hate Gate. I've had a rant about this on live streams before, but it's back. Bro's whinging about Gate again. Anyway, I don't like animated stuff. I don't like anime. I don't like animated anything, really. About as far as I'll delve into it is if there's something on Netflix like Love, Death, and Robots, or something like this. What's that other one that's like Love, Death, and Robots? I can't remember. It's cool. It's just not my favorite thing. But aside from that, I think Killer of Killers, crap name, by the way, was pretty fun. It was pretty good. I would give it... Man, you know what? I didn't really have any complaints about it, aside from it's a cartoon and I'm a cranky old bastard who hates cartoons. In terms of the story and all that, like, you know, nothing's popping to mind that this was so dumb and I hated it in every way. I think it's got to be A, if I'm being fair with it. I think it's got to be A. I did enjoy it more than Badlands, I'll say that. So Killer of Killers for me goes in A tier. I don't think it's as good as Prey, but I certainly think it's better than Badlands. What say you boys? Oh, I scrolled up. I love that movie. Yautja crawling around in the air vents is a weird mental image. Yeah, true. No, it's the same director for Prey, Badland, and Killer of Killers. Is it really? Okay, I might have been mistaken. I knew it was the same one from Killer of Killers. Badlands, I didn't realize. How the fuck did he release so many movies in? Because they came out the same year, didn't they? Badlands and Killer of Killers. Busy boy. Okay. Up. Epic movie Killer of Killers. Love getting to see the Predator action in an era without guns. Killer of Killers is the highest rating. The Predator King has Xenomorph tails as a cape. What is gate? Don't ask me. Wouldn't the word filter also catch innocent words that happen to have the banned word in it? Yes, it would. So you just would never be able to use the word gate ever again. It's A tier easily. You have a very narrow tolerance for these movies. Not sure what you mean. You just said it was A tier and I put it in A tier. Isn't that the rating you wanted? Boys, that's about it. There's nothing else left on here. We've exhausted the Predator franchise, but now we're caught up. I don't know what's coming next. What's coming out next in the Aliens and Predator series? Who's coming next? Is it an Alien film or is it a Predator film? I suppose we had Predator most recently, Alien Romulus 2024. So we're probably due for another Alien movie again soon. I don't know what though. Do I Google this now? Yeah, let me Google this real quick. What are the upcoming Predator Alien films? I'm not sure if there even are any. Here we go. It's our Google result. Following the success of Alien Romulus and Predator Badlands, 20th Century Studios is actively expanding the Alien Predator universe. While exact theatrical and streaming dates are still taking shape, the studio is developing a direct sequel to Alien Romulus and is also in the early stages of planning a new Aliens vs. Predator film. Oh boy. Good luck. Alien Romulus sequel. Following the success, yep, I read it. Fede Alvarez, he directed Romulus, has been confirmed to return for a direct sequel. Project is in early development. Prey follow-up. Director Dan Trachtenberg, of course, he did Badlands and Prey. Following the release of Predator Badlands animated feature, the studio is evaluating continuations. That doesn't mean anything. Alien vs. Predator reboot. 20th Century Studios confirmed they are probably, inverted commas, moving forward with a brand new Alien vs. Predator feature, bringing the two iconic extra... Okay, so it's really inconclusive is what I'm reading. But they're certainly not going to stop because these things sold money. Killer of Killers and Romulus printed. So if they're making cash, they're going to keep making them. So I guess it's simple as that. Let me delete this. Now let's review our final list here real quick. S tier. Aliens, the second movie in the Aliens franchise. Predator, the original. A tier. Alien, the first film. Predator 2. Alien 3. Prey. Killer of Killers, animated. B tier, Alien Resurrection, Predators, Prometheus, Covenant, Romulus, Badlands. C tier, Requiem. D tier, AVP, The Predator. Let me just think about this and talk it out real quick. I'm saying my favorites are Aliens and Predator. No worries with M&S. I'm saying the worst or my least favorites is AVP and the Predator in D. That's makes sense. Now the question I have looking at this is, have I been too generous, putting too many in B, or have I been too harsh, not putting enough higher, or have I been too favorable, not like you know what I mean, bumping them up. So let me review here. As I just look at this, I enjoy Alien 3 more than... I'm just going to review them by franchise, right? I enjoy Alien 3 more than Alien Resurrection. And yeah, that's not controversial. Resurrection's worse than Alien and Alien 3 easily. So this even just like, outside my takes, this is logical. Resurrections is the worst of these three. Predators, I don't think this is controversial either. Predator 2 is better than Predators. Predator is better than Predators. Prey is better than Predators. Killer of Killers is Predators. I think that's fair. Prometheus, these three I think are the trickiest. Badlands, I know a lot of you dudes probably think this could go in A. This was one maybe I think is controversial on my part, leaving this in B. But these three here I think are the trickier ones to place. Because how do you even split the hairs between particularly Prometheus and Covenant? Like, I think these two have to go in the same, for me anyway. these I enjoyed the same, just for different reasons. Romulus, you could maybe make a case. I think Romulus, you could make a case it goes up. I think that's fair. I don't think you could make a case Romulus goes down. People could make a case Predators and Resurrection go down. I certainly think so. So maybe with these two, particularly Resurrection, this is too generous. But I'm still happy with where it is for now. I'm just like talking it out. I think some would make a case that either Prometheus or Covenant would go down to C. But I like both these, so I'm happy with these in B, which makes me kind of Requiem in C. Again, it's not as bad as AVP, but it's definitely not as good as, what am I saying here? Let's put Badlands and Romulus aside because these are controversial because some of you guys think that should be up in A or even S. But let's say Resurrection, Predators, Prometheus. I don't think AVPR is as good as them. No way. So I think this one being the sole C sitter kind of makes sense. And that, boys, I think is that. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this. What says you? They could bring in a third party. Predator, what? Adam Layer of Eggs. Yeah, he worked on Badlands. Okay. Aliens Earth. Man, Aliens Earth, I was kind of into it at the start, and it kind of started going downhill. Up. Move my beloved Prometheus to S tier. No. Pado says, oh yes, exploring military use and efficiency for one X-Xenomorph for modern military operations would be sick, presenting to Wayland Yutani execs. Yeah, true. I guess kind of going down the Jurassic World route with the Raptors. Imagine dropping one of these babies in a cave in Tora Bora. Romulus to A, Covenant to C, in my opinion. Romulus to A, Covenant to C. I see the case for Romulus to A. I guess my question to you is, why is Covenant worse than Prometheus? That's, you see what I mean? I think these two were very similar in their strengths and weaknesses. Equally sort of took some risks in going different directions. Both Ridley Scott directed. You get what I mean? Like, I'm having a hard time separating these two. Okay, let's wrap it up here, boys. Here's a teaser for you. It's not a teaser because I've accidentally scrolled to this PowerPoint slide like 50 times already and given up the ghost. But this is the battle map that I'm going to be using for the next tactical analysis video, which is, of course, the Battle of Winterfell. So this is kind of the rough plan. Spoilers here, so congratulations anyone watching the live stream now. You're getting bloody trade secrets, my son. It's a quote from Sean Connery in The Rock, Nicolas Cage, 1995. But if anyone's got any other questions, boys, doesn't have to be Predator or this tier list related in general, CSRC, life, how to stop a cat meowing while you're live streaming, hit me with them now. If you've got like requests, those kind of questions, send them. And I'm going to jump off pretty soon otherwise. Excuse me, what did I just say? What did I just say? Cat? I was talking about stopping the cat meowing. It was an invitation, buddy. Chat. Also, Prometheus has more iconic scenes like the claw machine. Gross. Covenant, less than Prometheus, simply because both movies want to do the same thing, but Prometheus came first and hence the same ideas felt fresher. That's a fair criticism. 40k faction review. I don't know about, why are you both talking about 40k? You guys like hive mind? Can you analyze Warhammer? 40k faction. I don't know anything about 40k. I've talked about 40k before in that I'll have to make a video on them someday, but I fear it. But my favorite 40k faction, I do know a little bit. I don't know anything actually. Let me just clarify that statement. I know or am familiar or aware that there's some sort of faction where they're pretty much Dutch from Predator. They're like a race of humanoids who live in the jungle and it's a jungle hellscape. And the jungle is so miserable and hard to live in that they like yearn for combat anywhere else because it's like a reprieve from their home planet, and they just wear like red bandanas and camouflage pants and shit and have like daggers and stuff, and they just like run around in the jungle stabbing everything. Those dudes are my favorite Warhammer faction. Do you think Ben Shapiro is a synthetic? What the fuck, cunt? Maybe. I don't know. Hard to say. He could be. Do you think Ben Shapiro is a synthetic? Oh my god. My favorite is the Tyrannid. I don't know what they are. They're like dinosaur monsters. They look like the things from Starship Troopers, right? The Tyrannids. I know that much. Okay, boys. Final chance here. Any quezzies? Any questions? Any final statements? Any questions I can answer, not like, do I think Ben Shapiro is a synthetic? Going once. Oh yes, do Terminator. Says Pado. Kuba says Katachan Jungle Fighters. That's the one. Katachan Jungle Fighters. If you want to know if the question is what's my favorite Warhammer dudes, it's them. Let me Google them real quick. Katachan Jungle Fighters. These dudes are sick. Look at him. He's got like a little camo. Can I just drag this image into the PowerPoint? That would be fucking tip top. Where is he? Look at these dudes. Does this work? Can I drag it in? Didn't work. Why didn't it work? Hang on, let me try it. Like open the image in a new tab. Try now. It's not working. Fucking dog. No. Never mind. I'm trying to drag across an image of these jungle dudes, but they look sick. It's pretty much just like John Rambo and Dutch from Predator, and they just hang out in the jungle with their red headbands and tattoos and biceps and kill shit in the jungle. And I think that's sick. You need to play Space Marines too. Tyrannoids are the coolest. Evaluating 4x Helldivers in modern combat scenarios would be funny. Yeah, hasn't Helldivers like fallen off? People are hating on it now for some reason. I'm not sure why, but I've just been seeing like negative Helldiver press when for a while there it was just like everyone was sick for it, couldn't get enough of it. Okay, boys, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to call it a day. Thanks for jumping on the live. Thanks for watching this in video form if you're here for the VOD. Next up for live streaming will be, I'll be on my Far Cry Gaming Night every Wednesday, as is tradition. And next Sunday, I'll probably be back to another planning room. So for the members only stream, doing more behind the scenes and where I'm at with the Battle of Winterfell video, and pretty much giving some updates on that. Outside of that, boys, the next video will be Battle of Winterfell. Following that will be another tactically speaking video, which will be a shorter one. But that being said, thank you, good chaps, for jumping on the stream. Peace and love. Goodbye. And I'll see you all on the next one. Adios, farewell, ciao, and good night. Kisses.